Hello, welcome to this channel, Cloud Tech with Sam. My name is Sam. In this video, we'll be learning about the basis of cloud computing, and as such, we'll have some objectives such as what cloud computing is, the types of cloud computing, public, private, hybrid. Then we'll talk about the pros and cons of cloud computing, and then we would want to know why AWS is a preferred cloud platform for which we are going to be learning. Please subscribe to the video, share with others, comment, ask questions. Any question, put that in the comment section, and I'll be glad to answer every one of them. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like the video. What is cloud computing? To the pros and cons of cloud computing. The third one will be the types of cloud computing. Then we talk about why we're going to choose the AWS platform. And then lastly, we create a free AWS account. Okay. So these are going to be our objectives for today. Now, when you talk of cloud computing, when you have a computer or a laptop like that, and then you access a resource on this computer where this resource doesn't reside on the computer, but rather it connects to an application or something over the internet. That will be that you are using some kind of cloud computing, or you are engaging in some kind of cloud technology. When that particular thing or when that particular resource does not reside on your local computer, but rather when you access such thing over the internet to a remote server, it is called cloud computing. Now let's come to the cloud. These cloud providers, they have huge data centers which consist of so many physical servers in these data centers. Now, in the past, when an organization has its own data center, what it does is it manages all of these servers by themselves. So you think of the electricity should be running 24/7. You think of the cooling systems. You think of the maintenance. You think of the people to manage all these. People management. All these combined was really a hectic thing for companies to manage with. So AWS saw this opportunity and then came into the picture. And then it brought about the idea that, okay, let's build these servers so that people just come and rent these servers. So AWS would take care of all these overhead costs, maintenance, all of these, such that they would cater for all these things. And then you as the company, or you as a business, you concentrate on how you will develop the applications and all that, so that your business can scale. So when AWS came into the picture, that leads me to the types of cloud computing. Now, when you talk of the types, we have two types. We talk of deployment. Let me go to types of cloud computing. We have deployment model, and then the service model. Okay, so the deployment model is now broken into three parts, where we have the public cloud. Here we have the private cloud, and then the hybrid cloud. Then on the service side, we also have three of them, where we have the infrastructure as a service, which we refer to as the IaaS. And then we have the platform as a service. We call it the PaaS. And then we have the software as a service, which we call the SaaS. Now let's dive into each one of them. Let's dive into the public the public cloud. Now let's take this scenario, for instance. When you engage the services of a BaaS, okay, like the TTC or the STC or your local busing system. In this way, it is the responsibility of the company to do maintenance, okay, to do maintenance, insurance. All that you care about is you just bought the bus and then you pay for whatever you need to pay. You don't think of the maintenance, you don't think of insurance, you don't think of all those things. Now, in the same vein with the public cloud, you don't maintain servers, you don't maintain everything. Everything is maintained by the cloud vendors, okay, or the cloud providers. Example include the AWS, Microsoft Azure, and then Google. In this instance, they take care of all the maintenance, all the services, and all that they provide for them. Now, when it comes to the private cloud, this is synonymous to having your own car, where you maintain the car, you pay for insurance, use it at your convenience, everything. In the same vein, when it comes to cloud, where businesses or companies maintain their own servers, or let's say data centers. So they take care of maintenance, they take care of updates, they take care of the manpower, the electricity, the cooling system, and all that. That's the maintenance. Everything they manage themselves. Normally, this private cloud is also referred to as the on-premise. Okay, and then we have the hybrid cloud, where this is a combination of the private and public. So this is synonymous to Uber. Okay, when you engage the services of an Uber, you don't maintain the car, you have your privacy. So it kind of combines the public transport and then that of your own private car, some features of it. So that's how the hybrid works. Now the hybrid is a combination of on-prem, some aspect of your services you manage them yourself, and then some aspect of other services or resources you leave that you subscribe to the services or the infrastructure of the public cloud. Okay, So it's a combination of these. Now, these type of cloud system have been examples of companies that use this hybrid system is the federal government. Okay, the federal government usually puts the applications or services that need to be accessed by the customers or the public on the public cloud. Okay, and then the confidential aspect of their operations, they put that on the private cloud. So the front facing side of their application where users or the general public can access, they engage the services of either AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. Okay, so that people can be able to access. And then the confidential aspect, which has to do with the database, are kept on-prem. That is, they manage that aspect. Okay, so let's go back to our objectives. So we've talked about what cloud computing is. Cloud computing is accessing IT resources over the internet on a pay-as-you-go basis. That is cloud computing. We've talked about the types of cloud computing. We've talked about the models. That this is the deployment models. Now let's talk about the service models. Now let's take a look at the service models. The first one we're going to take a look at is the infrastructure as a service, which is referred to as IaaS. Now, the infrastructure as a service is computing resources, storage, and network resources on a pay-as-you-go basis. For instance, if you spin up an EC2 instance, if you implement a load balancer or DNS service, Kubernetes service, container service, all of them are infrastructure being provided to you as a service, which makes it easy for you to, let's say, spin up a server. Okay, so this is basically the primary focus or the primary functions of the public clouds. Okay, so let's go over. So the infrastructure as a code is basically the computing resource, computing storage, and networking resources on a pay as you go basis. So an example of these resources are the virtual machines. In terms of AWS, will be EC2 instance, which will delve deep in the upcoming videos. EC2 instances, RDS, which in terms is databases, relational databases. Networking, VPC, and all that. These are all infrastructure, but in the form of a service. We will take a look at all these things into details in our subsequent videos. Now, the next one we will talk about is the, let's say, number 2, platform as a service. We call it the PaaS. Okay. Now the platform as a service provides complete environment to build, deploy, and maintain application. Okay. It provides complete environment to build, deploy, and maintain application. Okay. So the primary focus of the PaaS is development tools. Its focus is development tools and configuration. So the PaaS is basically used by developers. If you are a developer, you want to bring out a new application, a new software, the best platform to use is the PaaS, because it's kind of built to suit developers so that they can start developing, test things out on the PaaS. So basically, it is developers who use the PaaS, the platform as a service. Okay, so an example would be the Google Cloud, the Google App Engine. So this is designed specifically for developers to develop their software. Okay, so let's move to the next service model, which is software as a service. Which we popularly call the SaaS. Okay, now the software as a service gives users access to softwares or applications on demand, on a pay as you go basis. Okay, now what the SaaS basically provides is that it provides you with software already made for you. You just have to sign up or subscribe to their services, and then you start to use. You, the user, you don't think of maintaining the application, you don't think of backups, you don't think of data. All you need is that this software has just been packaged, prepared already for you. You just have to sign up and then you use it. So an example of these SaaS include the normal Gmail that we all use. Okay, Gmails, the Google Drive, Microsoft Office 365. We have Dropbox, Salesforce apps, and all of these are all software as a service. Okay, so let's go back to our objectives. Okay, so we've discussed what cloud computing is. The next one we'll discuss will be the why AWS. Why are we deciding to use AWS as our preferred cloud provider? So why AWS? Now the first reason we would want to use AWS as our preferred cloud provider is the fact that it is the leader in terms of market size. Now AWS is the leading cloud provider in terms of the cloud computing industry. Okay, so according to Statista, it says that AWS has a 31% market share at the end of Q4 2023. Okay, as a matter of fact, AWS is reducing in terms of their market share, is decreasing in terms of their market share, whilst Microsoft Azure is gradually climbing up and they are catching up with AWS, but still AWS is the leader in terms of market size. So this is the article that shows it. So this is Statista website. So it's giving us the stars. So AWS is leading in terms with 31%, Microsoft Azure 24, Google Cloud 11, and it continues like that. Okay. The second reason we would want to use AWS is it has a 1-year free plan. So if you are new to AWS and then you want to start using AWS, they've provided a free tier system where you can use their services for free. Of course, some services are paid, but as a beginner, you may not need those services. And even if you need those services, what that means is that you need to pay for that service. But in general, they've made provision for so many free services for a beginner such that you can be able to learn AWS, practice hands-on, use some of their services for free. Now, in terms of startup, most startups, what I know is most startups use the free services, whilst they make provision for services that will be needed to pay. Okay, so they've made it available so that you can be able to learn AWS for free for 1 year. Of course, there are boundaries to these free limits, so we will delve more into this one. Now, the third reason why we would want to use AWS is AWS offers over 200 services. Now, any service you can think of that will help you achieve your tasks, or that will help you build software, build applications, secure your systems, AWS has a service for that. That's why it's so much the market leader, because every service you can think of, they already have it. Okay, even if they don't have it, it's still in line for them to, but most of them, they offer these services, a wide range of services where you can choose and deploy to solve a particular problem. Now, there are so many reasons why we can choose AWS, but these are some of the three that we would want to consider so that we can be able to create account and then start building with AWS. Okay, so let's go back to our objectives. The next one we'll talk about is the pros and cons of cloud computing. What are the advantages and the disadvantages of cloud computing? So we'll first of all talk about the pros of cloud computing. The first one we'll talk about is agility. Now, because cloud services have wide range of technologies, okay, It is easier for companies to build applications or build solutions on cloud. If you are thinking of, let's say, a blockchain solution, it is likely that one of the cloud vendors would have it already made for you. All you need is that you need to plug in use these services, and then you streamline them or you build them to suit your product. Okay, so agility, cloud services gives more agility such that you can be able to build faster applications to solve problems. When you have your own servers, for instance, a service like blockchain, it will be very difficult for you to maintain blockchain as in the nodes and all that, as this one requires so much power, so much computing power, and so much electricity and all that. But cloud providers have these services ready made for you such that you can be able to build applications, build solutions very, very fast, just plugging in or taking advantage of these services already on the cloud. Okay. The next pro will be cloud providers provide so much elasticity. Now, when you talk of elasticity, what that means is that is the ability to increase when demand is high and the ability to shrink when demand is low. Now, when you have a particular application and then when the requests are coming onto it so much, it is easier to spin up, let's say, another EC2 instance or another service to handle the load. Okay, and that when the request to that application is low, it is also within the cloud provider or within your power to shrink those services that you span up, those resources that you span up. So it is cloud that gives us this flexibility to either increase in capacity or whether reduce resources when we don't need them. Now, for instance, if you are on an on-prem, and then when you have capacity, you have requests coming onto your server, and then you buy additional server. Okay, in that instance, you need the server. That is why you bought it. When request to the server or to the application comes down, you've already bought it, so you don't the server will be sitting there idle until you find another thing for it. So you have already bought it, making as in incur that cost, but now it has become idle. You have no use of it. But then when you are using the cloud, it provides you with this elasticity where you can increase resources when needed and then delete or shrink them back when you don't need. That is one pro of the cloud services. The next one we will talk about is cost. Cost savings. Okay, like I was giving in the previous example, if you realize that requests to your application are too much, you just have to go and buy. You buy new servers. The time it will take for you to configure them, spin it up, and then set it up might have taken you would take you so much time. So in terms of this, cloud computing provides us with a cost saving plan where we can just delete resources we don't want and then spin up resources when we need them. Besides, all these overhead costs we talk about is not on us. Okay, so the cloud saves us a lot of time with all the fixed expenses that we would incur, such as maintaining physical servers, maintaining data centers, and all that. So these expenses we incur on subscribing to cloud services are very much lower as compared to if we were to manage our own data centers and our service. Okay. Now the fourth one will be that we can deploy globally within minutes. Okay. Now, for instance, an example will be that let's say we have an application where we realize that most of the requests coming through our server is from, let's say, North America, or let's say Japan. Okay. Now, because we know that most of the requests is coming from that side, what we can do with cloud is that we can just spin up servers in Japan region or in Asia region, okay, and then put our application in that region, such that users accessing our application would be closer, okay, would be closer to them. In this case, it will reduce what we call latency. Okay, reduce latency, and then it improves user experience. It will also save us in terms of cost. Now, when you have an application and then it takes so much time for users to access application, most of the times users would have bad experience using your application, so they will not come again, or they will not continue to use your application. So when you realize this, it is easier to build a different application in that particular region so that it will be very fast accessing those applications. But when you are managing your own data centers, okay, if you have your own data centers and then you realize that users are in a different region, you have to physically go to that particular region and then build data centers again in that region. So this will become quite a difficult thing for a particular business to do. But then if you subscribe to a cloud vendor, which already they have these data centers in these regions already, it makes it easier for you to deploy in that region, thereby reducing latency and then increasing user experience. By so doing, people will now flock onto your application, enjoy using your application, and as such drives the business ahead. Okay, so that is with the pros of cloud computing. Will be the creating of a free account. Now, in our next video, we will discuss this thoroughly, as we will delve more into the free tier plan of AWS, and then we create accounts, and then we would start using AWS. If this video has been helpful to you, please subscribe, share, and then give your comment. Anything you want to ask, anything you are not clear with it, put it in the comment section, and then look forward to our next video where we'll discuss into details the free plan of AWS. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video. Bye.